Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's teleconference. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. We are now joined with Shawn, the head coach of App State. If you have a question for Coach Clark, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, first I'd like to give Coach Spavital and his team a lot of credit. The way they battled, it was a heck of a game, and you can really tell that he has his program going in the right direction. But for us, it was another big win, another road win for us, and probably our guys handled them on the road for the second week in a row, and we did enough to get by with that win, and we're moving on to Georgia State.
Thank you very much, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Georgia State has shown the propensity they can score an awful lot of points. What do you see as some things you have to do to slow them down?
Well, again, a lot of respect for Shawn Elliott. He's a teammate of mine back when we played here back in the 90s, and I know he's one of the best O-line coaches ever been around. He's got a great program, but that quarterback, Brown, he's special. He can beat you with his feet. He can beat you with his arm. I think he's thrown 12 touchdowns for almost 1,200 yards this year, and they got skill positions. They got Pinckney kid and McCoy, great running backs, and Dustin Coates and Tucker Gregg, and then they got an experienced offensive line. And I think that's a recipe for success, and I know he'll have those guys ready to play.
You talk about a recipe for success. A lot of teams in the league seem like they're sort of peak and valley this year. Your guys seem to have played on a sort of an even keel. Is that something that y'all stress, and what are some factors that lead into that?
I'm not sure. I just know we're going to be who we are. We're not trying to invent the wheel week by week. We're going to try to run the football and play action pass and play great defense. And I think that's been the way here since Satterfield took over, and even back when Coach Moore was here. Just be good at what you do and try to execute at a high level.
We're into November now. What's your assessment of the Sun Belt overall?
I think from top to bottom, it's the best it's ever been. And it doesn't matter. You look at Monroe and Georgia and Texas State, their record doesn't indicate that they're having a great year. But, man, I tell you, they got some talent. And you look at the top, I mean, Coastal Carolina, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, Lafayette, Arkansas State. I mean, they're down a little bit, but, I mean, they got weapons. And in this league, if you turn the ball over, you're going to get beat. So, to me, if you don't turn the ball over and you can play some great defense, you got a chance to win.
Any fear that your guys, it looks like if everything goes as it is, you're going to have a game that will likely decide the East Division in 2 weeks? Any fear that there might be some looking ahead to Coastal?
Not at all. When you put the tape on Georgia State and watch how they play the game, they play it the right way. And I know Shawn has done a great job there since he's been there, and they have a damn good defense, and they're really good on offense. So if anybody's looking ahead, we'd be a fool. So all of our eyes are on Georgia State and try to get 1-0 this week.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you. All right, we're going to place everyone on a brief hold here. We'll be back in about 4 minutes or less with Jamey Chadwell at 11:37 Eastern, 10:37 Central. So please stand by. All right, thank you for holding, everybody. We're now joining Jamey Chadwell, the head coach of Coastal Carolina. If you have a question for Coach Chadwell, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, thank you. Hard-fought victory Saturday night. I thought it was a physical game on both sides of the ball. South Alabama was a tough team and made us earn every point and yard we had. I thought our defense played well all game long, and we found a way to grind a victory out. So it was a good homecoming win for us. Get us to 5-0 in the league, and then now obviously got to get ready for an explosive Troy team down there on the road. So. A matchup that last time we went down there didn't go our way, so guys are looking forward to going down there.
All right, thank you, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media to *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Dan, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned your defense, and I know the offense with Grayson has gotten a lot of exposure this year. But over the last 3 games, I think you've given up like 20 points. You held South to 2 out of 15 on third down. Is that defensive unit getting the credit it deserves?
Well, I think they are lately. I think early on in the season, because everybody's scoring points early on, because I think the defenses have a harder time catching up, especially in a way that the pandemic was. I think they have lately, but we knew they were going to be pretty good. They finished the season last year solid, and we had some guys come in that we felt like would take our defense to that next level, but they needed time to adjust to our scheme and all that. And I think now they're comfortable, and you've seen the last 3 weeks they're playing at a high level. Obviously, our D-line was always going to be a strong suit, but I think our linebacker play is increased, getting Silas Kelly back, and our secondary is playing well. So they are getting that now, but we all knew, especially offensively, going against them every weekend practice, we knew how good they could be.
Are you doing anything defensively differently as the season goes along, or is it just a matter of getting things going, getting used to the system?
Well, you adjust each week based off your opponent, but I think for us, it's the second year in the system for our guys, so there was some comfortableness with that. And now we did add a new secondary coach in the off season, so those guys had to learn some different things from that standpoint. And I think lately you've seen us do some more things there to help change the way we play defense. We were always good in the box, but we had some issues secondary-wise, and we changed some things up, and we're playing better back there with, obviously, the third down rate that you mentioned versus South Alabama. So I think that's been a big key for us here the last, really, 4 weeks. I know 3, but really the 4. I thought we played pretty well the second half of Louisiana.
South Alabama, their quarterback was 23 out of 31, threw for 243, but you kept them out of the end zone. Was it almost like just didn't get a chance to see it, was it almost like a bend but don't break?
Well, they've got South Alabama's got great receivers, and you're trying to limit their explosive plays. I think they got one big explosive play on us, but the rest of it was run after catch. We couldn't tackle them, but it was keep them in front. Let's get down into the red zone and let's see if we can hold them to some field goal opportunities, which is what we did. And then obviously the big stop there on fourth down on 4th and go was a huge play in the game. And so it was more of that, just keep them in front of us, and let's see if they can execute all the way down into the end zone, and our guys were able to hold up.
You mentioned Troy being explosive. They've been very much almost like on a roller coaster this year, but they've had some instances where they played really well offensively. What do you expect out of them?
Well, they're going to play fast. That's the thing that they do. They play with a huge tempo. They can catch you. They can get you out of position. And the receivers and their backs, really, but the receivers can beat you in the one-on-ones. And so they're going to try to get us matched up and get us and try to wear us down from a tempo standpoint. So we're going to have to be sharp there. They got after us good last year, and we really struggled with them. And so, the thing with them, you look at their record, and they're 4-3, but they're also – they had a chance to beat, Georgia State, and then they also, had a chance last week, had some opportunities. So they easily could be 6-1 with their only loss to BYU, and we all know how good BYU is. So they're a dangerous team, and one that we have to go down there and play well if we're going to try to come out with the victory.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if everyone can stand by, we'll place everyone on a brief hold. We'll be back with Steve Campbell of South Alabama here in about 2 minutes. Thank you for holding, everybody. We are now joined with Steve Campbell, the head coach of South Alabama. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yes, good morning. We're coming off of a very disappointing loss this past weekend to a very good Coastal Carolina football team. I thought our guys played hard, and, we were, had opportunities, and then this past week was definitely a case of missed opportunities. But now we regroup and get ready for a very good Louisiana Lafayette football team, a team that, is good on both sides of the ball, very well coached with a a lot of good players, and we're excitedly preparing for a really good game this weekend. This will keep us in the conference race, and this one's for first place in our half of the league, so we're fired up and ready to go.
Thank you very much, Coach. Again, a reminder to members of the media, *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning, Dan.
Yep, the Coastal squad that you played, you were limited, I think, only 2 out of 15 on third downs, and you had that key stop at the end on that goal-to-go situation. Was it something that your guys were doing as far as scheme-wise, or did you just give Coastal credit for making defensive plays throughout the game?
Well, probably a little bit of both. Obviously the scheme we didn't work, or we'd have been successful, and obviously they made plays, or it would have worked. So we definitely need to look at what we were doing and how we can do it better in order to give ourselves a chance to be more successful.
Did you feel at the point that if you get that fourth down and get that in the end zone, it's pretty much a different game?
Yeah, I did. I thought that if we could have got, a touchdown there, we'd have cut it to, it would have been a one-score game, and that was definitely, we needed to get it in the end zone, and and I felt like we had the best play called versus, what they line up in, in their goal line situation, and we just weren't able to. The referee said, but we didn't get it in. I thought we may have scored there, but we can't leave it to a review or, we got to punch that thing on in. And, obviously, that anytime you leave 7 points out there in a close football game, that's going to come back to haunt you, and it definitely did. And that was at a point in the game where we could have definitely, a touchdown would have made a difference. Earlier we had gotten down there and had to kick field goals, and so we did not do what you need to do against the number 15 team in the country in the red zone.
Coach, your offense has gotten some play for having some big play guys, but can you talk about your defensive play over the last couple of weeks? It looks like you've played pretty solid.
Yeah, they have. They, we gave up the first 2 drives this past week against Coastal, who had been averaging 40 points a game, and the first 2 they took down for touchdowns, and they had 14 on the board pretty quick. But then after that, we settled down and held them to field goals from then on out, and created a couple of turnovers and made them punt a couple of times. And I thought our defense, played really, really well. I thought that the guys were flying around and did a really good job. I thought we played well defensively, and they gave us the ball in good field position a couple of times. We just weren't able to capitalize.
I know your guys have lost a couple in a row, but can you use the fact that if you can go into Lafayette and win this weekend, that you pretty much you could be in the driver's seat in the West?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. We're, that's what we're definitely. The guys know that. We know that. I mean, in our half of the league, there's Lafayette sitting up top right now with one conference loss, and if we can travel over there to Lafayette and get this victory, then that'll put us, right where we, all of our goals, as far as conference championship are still very attainable, and we still control our own destiny. So, we need to put together a great game plan this week and go execute, and let's get the W, and we're in the driver's seat in our half.
What's your impression of the Louisiana team, and what do you think are some of the things that your guys need to do?
Yeah, number one, their backs are really good. We've got to do a great job of tackling, regardless of which back is in the game. 9 and 15, Regis and Mitchell both outstanding backs, and they've got a number 21 that comes in, and he's an explosive guy. And then the quarterback is very, very efficient. He can hurt you with his legs. He can pull it down and take off and make things happen there, and he does a great job of protecting the football and getting the ball to their playmakers on the outside. Defensively, their front is really stout. They got a big 335-pound nose guard that is very athletic. The two DNs are very athletic. And then in the secondary, I think they've got 10 picks on the year, so very good in the secondary. So we need to do a great job of moving the chains, of converting. You asked earlier about third down. Third down is going to be huge in this game. With the team that most successful on third down is going to have the best opportunity to win the game. So we need to be very efficient, and keep the ball away from their explosive playmakers and score touchdowns in the red zone.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach. And thank you, Dan. Do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are now joined with Jake Spavital, the head coach of Texas State. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, let's go back to Saturday's game. I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Clark and App State and what they do there, man. They're obviously, they're conference champions, and they're a very talented team, but they play extremely hard. They play the way the game should be played, and I got a lot of credit to give to their coaching staff and their players as they play extremely hard, and it is a very good program. But when you look at where we're at, I do think there's our kids are playing hard. Like I say every week, I think they have the heart. I think that they're playing from a competitive standpoint. Where we will compete and we're going to play hard and we're going to give everything we got. But where we're lacking right now is our football side of it. When you want to win games, you got to play winning football, and we're making a lot of mistakes. The consistency is not there. Our kids there's a lot of people doing a lot of good things. We had a lot of explosive plays in this past game, but we also had 9 negative plays and 5 penalties on offense, and it's kind of one or the other right now. And when we clean up the football side of things and become more efficient and do things the right way and not beat ourselves, I think we're going to be in positions where we can actually win these games. But proud of these guys on how they play. Because I asked them to fight, I asked them to play hard, they do, and I asked them to compete, and they did. But when you talk to them after the game, they understand that a lot of this stuff is self-inflicted, and we've got to do a better job at cleaning up our mistakes, or at least minimizing our mistakes. And once we work on the football side of things, I think we're going to be in position to actually pull through and win some of these games. Some questions.
Thank you, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, *1 to get in the queue. First questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Your guys get the touchdown early. App comes back and gets a touchdown, and then it looks like it's pretty even, but then they get the pick six. How big, how big was that at that point? Because you're playing with them right there late in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was a pretty pivotal moment right there. It was a busted assignment. You go back to what I said earlier about beating yourself, and there was a busted assignment right there by a receiver, and it made an ill-advised throw, kind of threw a blind, which it turned pretty quickly. But the way I was with these kids is I said, hey, we got to keep swinging and keep fighting, and they battled themselves back into a position to be competitive in the game. It's just when we got into that second half, it really separated, because that is a good defense, and they play. They're a very good team, and you have to be you got to play a clean football game to beat that team, and that pick six right there was a pivotal moment where you could kind of see the energy and the enthusiasm on the sideline kind of deflate a little bit, but to their credit, they came back out there and they fought, and we came back and got it back to a 14-10 game, and we just kept kind of fighting from there. So
you look at the numbers, talk about App's defense, but you have like 420 yards. You have basically the same amount of first downs. The two turnovers, the pick six and the other turnover, was that pretty much the difference, at least from a momentum standpoint?
We had 14 explosive plays, but we also had 9 negative plays and 5 penalties, which, like I'm saying, it's just so up and down. It's one or the other. And, for the first time in literally my career, I had a second down and 40. And, you have to work your way through it, and go back. And it goes back to the consistency and putting ourselves in better position to succeed. You talk about the turnovers, which those are always magnified. But, I just look at how every single drive we either took it down and scored because we weren't beating ourselves, or you could tell that we were going to struggle a lot based off of the inconsistencies of that drive. So, we got to make sure that we're cleaning that part up. And I think once we do, man, we are a young team, and we need to keep playing, and we need to keep learning and maturing and growing from this, and learn our lessons and make sure we don't repeat it and put ourselves in position, to win when we play clean football.
Can you talk about your offense a little bit, along with playing clean football? Because it looks like the last couple of weeks, you've been able to move the football, fairly consistently.
Yeah, that's the kind of the common theme, and our kids see it. We moved the ball well versus Louisiana. We moved the ball well versus App State, but we also leave a lot of football out there. And there's a lot of times where we're moving backwards, during those drives where, it's frustrating for me. It's tough to call plays at times, but they see the ability to make an explosive play. Where we got to do is understand that, they've got good coaches too, and they've got good players. And when they do, match up a coverage or, take away a certain run fit, we got to minimize the damage and make sure that we're moving forward, or at least being in situations that we can at least get into a manageable third down. So, again, we're moving the ball well. We just got to clean up our own mistakes.
I know people ask every week when somebody in the league gets ready to play Georgia Southern, but how difficult is it to prepare for their offense in just a week?
It's very difficult. I appreciate it. I think that they're a fun team to watch. They're unique. They, Coach Lunsford's got that place where they can beat anybody at any game, and they're competing at a high level. And I enjoy watching kids play hard and play for their coach, and that's what they do. It is tough from a schematic standpoint because you never see it. But the thing is they're going to be that we've got to make sure that we try to get them off the field as much as we can, because if you allow them to just be as efficient as they've been, then they can really run that clock out, and it really, their best defense can be their offense. And I got a lot of credit for what they're doing there. They play hard for their coach, and they're very sound and efficient at what they do, and they're always in a position to win every single game they're in.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach, for your time today. We do appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Travis. We'll see you.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep moving right along here. We are now joined with Chad Lunsford, the head coach of Georgia Southern. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for having us. Obviously, very excited to come off a victory at home against a really good Troy team. I thought our guys did a really good job of preparing for them, especially defensively. I thought our guys did a really good job of shutting down their offensive attack. And, offensively, I think we did enough. Obviously, we want to get more points on the scoreboard, but we did do a really good job of keeping the ball and keeping it away from Troy's offense, and and getting yardage, but not necessarily getting points. Got points when we needed to. Thought our guys played really hard for 4 quarters, and kept us in the game, gave us a chance to win at the end, and we were able to come up and finish it off. And hats off to Troy. They're a really good football team. They played hard. It was a good, hard-fought game. Now we have to turn our attention to Texas State this week, who, the initial looking at them, I know their record doesn't exemplify it, but I do think they're a better football team They have played in a lot of close games and played a lot of teams very tough. And, very impressed about what they've done on offense and defense and even on special teams. I think the coach has really got them going over there. And, I just see a lot of improvement in them, and I know it'll be a tough challenge for us this week.
Thank you very much, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, *1 to get in the queue. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Can you talk a little bit about your defense? I mean, they played solid against South Alabama, and then pretty much kept a very explosive Troy team and a team that likes to play fast pretty much under control last weekend.
Very proud of our defense. I thought Coach Shawn and the defensive staff put a really good game plan together, and I thought our guys did a really good job of executing it throughout the week to get ready for the game. We put a lot of emphasis on the high-tempo stuff all during the week, and I think the best thing that got said yesterday was at our team meeting, our players talked about how we made it harder in practice than it was going to be in the game, and I thought that was kind of key because, we put our guys in a lot of different situations last week and just made it really, really hard on them, and I think that showed in the game. But I think our defense has gotten better every week. We really have some young guys stepping up, but I'll tell you, the guy that we've missed early on in the season was Kendrick Duncan. Him being back and really, being the quarterback of our defense in that secondary has really made a difference.
You mentioned Texas State. They had 420-something yards and pretty much were even with App State first downs on a lot of the stat categories. What about the Bobcats looks like they could be some issues for you?
Well, like I said, I really don't think that their record exemplifies what they really are because, like, all these games I'm watching, and I was watching, the App game this morning, and they are playing with everybody, and they just have come up short at the end. They played App great, they played Louisiana great, they played South Al great, and shoot, had Boston College beat, so I really think that the guys for them are really buying in to what they want to do there, and they're really playing hard and really trying to execute at a high level. They just come up short in games.
Let me ask one other thing about last week. That game's back and forth, and then you get the big 69-yard run from Green. What kind of momentum change was that?
Oh, that was huge. We were moving the ball, pretty well, but we were not getting, obviously touchdowns. We had kicked 2 field goals, and when he hit that hole and had a 69-yard run, that was huge for our team. That was huge for our sideline. There was just a new energy when that thing hit because we knew it was going to be a back-and-forth game. I didn't expect it to be that low scoring early on, but for that one to hit, it really gave us some momentum, and and then we were able to get another touchdown later that put us ahead, and then we were able to finish it off.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dan, our next questions come from Nathan Dominance with the Savannah Morning News. Please go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Nathan?
Good. You mentioned Duncan, and he made some big plays on Saturday. Can you tell me what was the nature of his injury and his rehabilitation? How long did it take him to come back, and how did you ease him into the lineup? How did it go from week to week?
Well, he had a hip injury that got checked out at the end of last year. He ended up having to have surgery on his hip, and he was in I think the biggest piece to that whole thing was when COVID hit and everybody had to go home. It delayed us a little bit in trying to get him rehab, get him back, and so it ended up. He didn't play. I believe he got 25 snaps versus Coastal. We had him on a snap count that game. We had been practicing him leading up to the game. He had been slowly phasing in as far as getting reps at practice. He was non-contact for a while, And then, then we started getting a little contact here and there. And then we started, ramping him up just a little bit before the Coastal game, and the doctor cleared him to play 25 snaps. So we got his feet wet in that game, and then he was able to come on and play for us against South Alabama. He played the whole game, and then obviously this last game played pretty much the whole game. So it's been a slow process, but one thing, he's really worked very hard at getting himself back, and especially with what COVID did to us and kind of putting us behind in his rehab and getting him back. He's really worked hard to get back, and he's been a big difference for us because he's a huge leader for our football team.
Okay. Thank you. Real quick, I guess, on J.D. King and Wesley Kennedy and Bo Johnson, what is the nature of their injuries now that we've had a couple of days, and with Bo a week and some more time? What's their status right now?
J.D. King's going to be out. We've got an MRI scheduled, hopefully to try to get him in the MRI today. If not, it'll definitely be tomorrow. We're optimistic, but I think, JD's probably going to be done for the year, but we'll see after the MRI. But he did have a knee injury. Bo Johnson, he had a lower leg injury with his ankle. He's probably going to be a 4 to 6 week guy before we get him back. So it may be, the end of the season bowl game type scenario before we get him. Wesley Kennedy had a mouth injury in the game this past week. He'll be fine. He'll return this week, and looking forward to having him back. Obviously, 2 big losses with Bo and JD, and, we're going to have to be in that next man up mentality. But Gerald Green stepped up. The running backs did step up in this last game, and our tight ends are doing the same thing as well. So that's where we kind of stand right now.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Yep, no problem. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you. We'll continue right along. We are now joined with Blake Anderson, the head coach of Arkansas State. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone. *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Disappointing loss at Lafayette on Saturday. However, just really, really proud of the progress that our guys have made over the last couple of weeks, especially defensively, to have struggled as much as we did early in the season, and to have watched them grow up so much the last few weeks and play, be able to shut out Lafayette to no points in the first half and keep the point total reasonably down all day against a very good, very big, very talented offense. I think it's just definitely something we can build on. Offensively had several opportunities in the first half that we missed that could have put us on the board more than just field goals, and so frustrated there. Pleased with how they responded in the second half to battle back and tie the game up, but ultimately we just didn't make the plays down the stretch that they did, and that's a veteran team with leadership. You've seen them do that all year. In the second half, find ways, whether it be field goals or touchdowns or overtime games, they've found a way to claw back in and win games, and they did it here against us. And just felt like we are growing up, albeit slowly, starting to get our bodies back to, you can see us able to run the ball more effectively against one of the bigger defensive fronts in the league, and that was encouraging because we've really struggled to move people for quite some time, having come out of COVID, and so that was encouraging. Hopefully that's something we can build on down the stretch as well, be more balanced offensively, and I do think that'll help us and benefit us moving forward. So, we're back at home. And our challenge is to find a way to just get better this week and get on the win column. Still would love to be able to take this team to a bowl game, but that means we've got a lot of work to do down the stretch, and our kids are still battling and playing hard, and as you see, still improving, which to me is encouraging.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Luke Madison with Red Wolf Report. Please go ahead, Luke.
Blake, you talked about the defense this past week and the growth that they have made. Since you made the change and Coach Poremski took over, what are the biggest strides that you've seen this defense make?
I think just weekly, getting just become a little bit more competitive at the point of attack. I felt like we were very, very cautious and very, very conservative early in the year. Guys that had not played very much, kind of afraid to mix things up at times. There's a difference between playing to make the play and playing not to make a mistake. You start to see guys grow in confidence. I think Nick's, personality is coming out. He's a fiery, redheaded kind of competitive guy, and his personality is just a little different than what Dave's was. And I think you're starting to see his connection with the guys and kind of his personality show in the defense, and guys are starting to build some confidence, which is what we needed. So it's a process with a lot of young guys that hadn't played very much, and every time they go out, even when they make mistakes, they go out, they learn and have continued to grow. So pleased with the progress. I think they're starting to build some confidence. Hopefully, can continue to play at a high level and help us win games down the stretch.
You mentioned the offense as well, being able to run the football. I know that you're still wanting to see more growth there, but man, Lincoln Perry, he just does not look like a freshman.
No, he's one of those guys that has come in and really just very mature for his age, physically, mentally. He understands the game really well, super high football IQ, which allows him to not be overwhelmed with what we're doing, and just gets better every week. He's gotten more and more touches. I think, Marcel was a guy we were really counting on early in the year, just has been injured, and so Lincoln's been a bright spot. And to have had the game he had, very patient, ran very patiently, stayed behind his old lineman, and was really smart about how he was doing things in terms of using his blockers well. And so I'm excited about what his future looks like for us.
Obviously, this week at home, ULM. We know the history of ULM's been several shootouts there. They put up 424 yards of offense, 339 of those through the air. Talked about the defense earlier. They like to throw the ball around. It's going to be a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, they always do. I think they've always been really creative offensively. I know they lost a lot of key players, and they've struggled this year. And this is one of those years that it's hard to even know, what group's on the field each week with COVID and injuries. So, they'll come in and play their best. I think Matt does a great job coaching them, and so we'll have to defend well, create pressure, make them uncomfortable, and hopefully we can find a complete game, play really well in all three phases, get balance on offense, defend the pass, and create pressure on defense, and we definitely need to get in the win column. We need to kind of get this thing moving in the right direction so we can get to our goals for the end of the season.
Final question, Blake. Offensively, kind of up and down at times over the past few weeks. I know you haven't put it in the end zone as much as you like. What's your message to those guys right now?
Just keep improving. That's the message to everybody. I mean, we obviously had some struggles, some within our control, some outside of our control. And the things we can control is our work ethic on a daily basis and our detailed, our attention to detail, so we can execute better. We had several opportunities the other day to get the ball in the end zone, and we just didn't execute real well. A couple drops here or there, a couple balls thrown behind, a busted run scheme up front where we just didn't execute it as we know we should. And we missed several really good opportunities to get the ball in the end zone early in the game, which could have very well affected the outcome, in big ways. So instead of settling for field goals and then a missed field goal, if you get touchdowns there and stretch things out, it makes the game look a lot different. So just don't get bored with the process of getting better. Don't give up on yourself. Fix what you can fix, control what you can control, which is energy and execution, and that's what we're focusing on.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we're now joined with Matt Viator, the head coach of ULM. If you have a question for Coach Viator, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thanks for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Sure, thanks. Another tough week for us, and fell behind early, a couple of turnovers early, and just trying to play catch up the whole game. Give Georgia State credit. Really was impressed with their quarterback and some of the things they did, and just tough to defend. They have a really good offense, and so we're excited, to have the opportunity to play Arkansas State, and we know their history there, and what Blake and his staff have done there, I think, has been phenomenal. The consistency they played with, their offense. I like both quarterbacks. I think not only are they talented, they're both really tough young men. They ran the ball better last week than they've been doing, which is scary. And then, I don't know anybody that's better than Adams. He not only, makes plays that he should make, but he creates plays. I mean, he creates 2 or 3 a game at least that you go, no way, and he still makes the play. And so, balance on offense defensively, have some really good players, move guys around. But, it all starts with Merrill, I think, in the middle and then moves out. But I thought they did a great job last week against the Raging Cajuns in terms of, shutting them out in the first half and really, really doing a good job of stopping the run and forcing ULL to do some other things, Louisiana to do some other things. So, anyway, we know it's going to be a tough game, but, hopefully we can have a good week and go up there and have a good performance in Jonesboro this week.
Thank you very much, Coach. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, Dan. How are you?
Doing well. I guess I have to ask the announcement this morning about the suspension of football activities, hopefully very temporary. Can you talk about what you're able to do right now?
Well, I kind of go back to the statement that John put out, but we're hopeful, possibly that we can get back out, maybe as early as tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening is what we hope. So, that's the goal right now, but, we have to go through the process and, everybody had to retest this morning and, so anyway, Dan, we just got to go through the process and, and be as safe as we can and follow all the protocols that should be followed, which I think we are. And like I said, hopefully, but, we want to play. And I know we're not having a good season, but we want to play. Our kids want to play and stuff. So hopefully this works out in our favor.
How frustrating is it just to almost have to, sit around and wait?
Well, it's just, there's a lot of things, that have been different, obviously, this year. Dan, you've been through it. You've been in it a long time and, and I have. And it's just been things that have been different. And it's not just this. I mean, the things that, come up pretty much on a daily basis that, that you have to move forward. And this is just another one, the way we look at it. I mean, it's sent out a notice to the players and, and then talk to our seniors and most of them individually trying to, just explain what's going on and, and got to go from there.
Other than the early turnovers, obviously, were just huge against you over the weekend. Other than that, I mean, you had to be kind of excited about the way your offense played after that early stretch.
I thought, we moved the ball pretty good at times and, threw it and caught it a little better. I thought Jeremy Hunt came in and really did a nice job for us. Unfortunately, we were without Josh Johnson and then Isaiah Phillips, who's, been our backup now for the last year or two. He went down, I think, the third or fourth play of the game. And so, but we had some young running backs that I thought went in there and, and handled themselves very well. So that's encouraging moving forward. We just have to be a lot more consistent, Dan. I mean, if you're going to, we're going to go up and beat a team like Arkansas State and Jonesboro, I mean, we'll have to play good from the start and good for 60 minutes. I mean, you can't play in spurts like we do and expect to beat good teams.
What have you seen from Arkansas State's defense the last couple of games? It looked like they played really well second half against Troy, and then I saw them play really well first half this past weekend.
I think they look like they've settled in, to what they want to do, and it's. I think they're doing a really good job of tackling and running the ball. But I think really, if you look at it the last few weeks, and we've tried to just go back to the last few weeks of what we're doing, what they're doing. It looks like they're really settled in on what they want to do, and they've mixed in some pressures, I think, really well at the right times and stuff. And I think that makes the biggest difference. When you can mix in pressures at just the right times, like they've done the last couple of weeks, it makes a big difference.
Appreciate it, Coach. You stay safe.
Thank you, Dan. You too.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Billy Napier, the head coach of Louisiana. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
I think
Saturday was a good team win. I thought all three phases really contributed and played well at times. A lot of credit to Blake and his staff and team. They had their team well prepared. They played well in the game. And the game came down to a handful of special situations and a handful of plays. But in general, I was really proud of our team and the effort that they played with. That was the big focus going into the game. I thought we got that. I think that, Arkansas State obviously has done a nice job this year, overcoming some of the COVID-19 adversity that they've had. I know they had a great start with the Kansas State win and then, had some issues there. But I do think they're settling in and they've got good personnel and the staff did a nice job. So I was proud of our staff and our adjustments that we made at the half. I was really impressed with the intangibles and the leadership of the team, the ownership that the players took. I thought their leadership and their resolve at halftime was pretty special. I think that's our fifth comeback win of the year, and I think that has a lot to do with what type of players and leadership amongst the players that you do have. So, it's November, and we're getting ready to play another big game against South Alabama. Certainly a much improved team. No question, that this will be a very competitive game. These guys are big, fast, and physical, and they play extremely hard. I think they're fundamentally sound, and they've got really good personnel. And certainly their staff has done a nice job there of continuing to improve. So this will be a big challenge. Certainly has a lot of implications to the big picture. We look forward to it and are excited about the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Coach. As a reminder to our members of the media, star one to get in the queue. First questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned COVID. Before I ask anything about South Alabama, obviously games are still being canceled. Monroe announced this morning that they're suspending football activities temporarily. What would you give as far as advice to teams on what you can do to try to keep your team sort of on an even keel in all this?
Well, I don't necessarily know if I'm the best to give advice. I think we've benefited, being in our third year. I think it's had a lot to do with it. I also think that we've got a really qualified and incredible support staff. I think I can't give enough credit to, Pat Richards, Mark Hockey, Troy Wingirter, a number of people that have contributed to kind of our approach and our plan to try to keep our team healthy. I think a lot of it has to do with your university, the leadership that you have at the top and also within your athletic department. And then ultimately, once you kind of develop your plan and set up your plan, the players have got to go execute it. They've got to live it every day. It comes down to a certain level of self-discipline, to be able to make choices and decisions on a consistent basis. And it's an invisible enemy, right? So even when you do everything perfect, there's an opportunity for you to have issues. We certainly know that. We've been through our own ups and downs, in terms of these challenges. But in general, I'm very proud of our team and the way we went about our business as a whole when you look at the whole body of work. So I think a lot of things contribute to it. And we're not out of the woods yet. I think about it every day. So we just got to stay the course. And, I think it's about doing things the right way daily. And that's kind of what we focus on each day, one day at a time.
South Alabama looks like they do some similar things to what Arkansas State,
does as far as some big play guys on offense. Can you talk about the challenge your defense will face?
Well, first of all, I think this is a really big, long, fast, and physical team. In general, I think it applies to not only their offense but their defense. I think they've got a good process in place in terms of evaluating, recruiting, strength and conditioning, and also how they practice. They're very fundamentally sound, and I think that they take on blocks, they tackle well, they block well up front and on the edges, and then they've got some dynamic skill. So, in general, they got lots of players that can become an issue for you. And they do a nice job of formationing you and putting you in a run-pass conflict. And so a lot of challenges, much like any week, and certainly is going to require us to be at our very best this week.
Your guys have almost developed a reputation of finding ways to win. Does that say something about, the experience of your team? And you mentioned being in the third year as a group.
Well, I obviously we can play a lot better. We've certainly not started as well as we would like a number of times. But you got to credit the staff, the adjustments, plus the resolve of the players, to kind of keep their poise. And we've kept games close. Our defense and in the kicking game has allowed us to keep these games under control and not get out of hand until we figured it out on offense. Saturday was a great example of that. We go and get shut out in the first half, and then we have 340 yards in the second half. So, I think the big thing here is you could put together one heck of a highlight film of our team, but I think what we're focused on is the consistency in performance, being able to do it down in and down out. We still haven't played a complete game and put it all together. So we're working hard on it, and I think certainly this week will be one of the biggest challenges we've had yet this season.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
All right, guys.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Chip Lindsey, the head coach of Troy. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yes, thanks, guys, for being here. Appreciate it. Obviously, tough loss for us on the road in conference at Georgia Southern. Just did not play well at all on offense, and got to give Georgia Southern a lot of credit. I thought they did a nice job, had a good plan, but at the end of the day, just really poor execution on our part. Just never really got into rhythm, and therefore really struggled all afternoon. I thought our defense was excellent. They did a great job holding those guys down. When you go in and play a team like that's going to run the triple option, you obviously know your snaps are going to be limited, and that's what happened to us. I think we had 20 at halftime, and I think we ended up in the 60s snap count total, but just did not take advantage of some of the opportunities we had. Early in the game, we missed a field goal, which I thought was a big momentum swing. Been nice to get that. But, other than that, in special teams, we were very, very solid. Our punter, Jack Martin, was excellent, and kickoff guy, he did a great job. And, overall we were good in that area. But, again, we got to play really good football in all three phases, and offensively we didn't get it done, turned the ball over, and just, like I said, never got into rhythm. So we need to improve this week and get better. Obviously, we got Coastal Carolina coming in, who's got a really, really good football team, and we get to play them here at home, so that's an advantage, I hope, and excited to do that. But need to have a great week and regroup very quickly, and not let Saturday linger into this week. So we had good practice last night. I thought our guys moved around great, in good spirits, and moving forward, I think we're in a good spot. We just got to continue to improve offensively, not turn the ball over. We're hopeful that we'll make that jump this week. Okay, questions?
All right, thank you very much. Our first questions come from Alan Blondin with the Sun News. Please go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Yeah, having Coastal ranked as high as 15th is kind of a badge of honor for the conference, but it also gives everybody in the conference an opportunity to, add that to their resume, a win over a number 15 team. So, I mean, is that does it, having Coastal ranked that high, does that kind of present an opportunity for not only you but everyone else in the league to kind of put something on their resume?
Well, I think so. I think when you watch the film and you see automatically they're just they got a really good football team, much improved from the standpoint of personnel. So the ranking's a great thing, I guess. But for us, each and every week, I think we're trying to focus on just playing really good, solid football and improving. And it happens to be this week against Coastal, who obviously is off to a great start and got a lot of good momentum. But I think for our team, it's a great opportunity for us, and if we'll approach it that way and get ourselves in a good spot and play good in all three phases, I think we'll have a great opportunity to win the game. But we understand the challenge. It's going to be it's going to be a tough one, and it's going to be something that we need to rise to the occasion on.
Coach, you as far as success offensively, you guys have had a lot more success throwing than rushing. Is the rushing numbers concerning to you? Is that anything you're trying to address, or are you okay with the balance?
Yeah, our balance is not really running pass. It's more like who touches the ball. So, I think we've run for 200 this year already once. But I just think for us, we got to move the football, whether we run it or throw it. And some of that is determined on how many guys are playing the box and so forth. We did attempt to run it some the other day and not very well, but, we do need to improve, obviously, but we need to improve in a lot of areas. We didn't get good play at quarterback last week and made a lot of poor decisions and turned the ball over, so we got to do a better job of that. And we're hopeful to maybe get our starter back. We were hopeful last week. It didn't happen, so you just never know. But we can get him back, Gunnar Watson. I think that'll help us in a lot of ways, and if not, we got to get the next guy ready.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the quarterback position, actually. So Jacob Free has been your guy for most of the year, I think. Who was supposed to be the starter, and how has that position developed for you?
Well, we lost our starter 2 weeks ago against Georgia State. Gunnar Watson has been our starter all year. He got hurt in the first quarter against Georgia State, and so Jacob Free has played the rest of that game, the Arkansas State game, and now the Georgia Southern game. So, like I said, we're hopeful to get Gunnar back as soon as we can, but if not, we got to get the next guy prepared, whether it's Jacob or someone else. So we'll see how the week plays out. I know Gunnar's improving each and every day, and he's a big part of our team. Obviously, being the starting quarterback, our team, he won the job for a reason out of fall camp. So he's definitely a very important piece of the puzzle for us.
All right, Coach, I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Alan, and thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for today. Do appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. And moving right along, we're now joined with Shawn Elliott, the head coach of Georgia State. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Good afternoon. Certainly this past Saturday was good for our football program to come back and get back on the winning streak against ULM. I thought coming out of the ball game, we had an opportunity to do a lot of good things, both offensively and defensively. Set the tone early, coming out, taking advantage of some of the things that we felt like we were going to be able to do all during the week, and put together a pretty solid game from start to finish. Had a little bit of a lull there in the second half, but all in all, very proud of our football team. Our guys came out, bounced back with a great mentality, great week of practice, and went out there and played pretty well. But moving right along, you got a really good App State football team. We're traveling up to Boone, North Carolina, of course, and got our work cut out for us. We all understand who they are and what they've been, and they're just trekking right along just as usual. So we've got a huge week of preparation ahead of us with a lot of focus and a lot of effort, and we've got to find a way to go up there and do what a lot of teams just haven't been able to do, and that's beat Appalachian State. It's a very, very challenging football team. They're well coached. Got a lot of respect for those guys up there. Know a lot of those guys up there, and it's going to be just a just a really challenging week for us. But we got our work cut out for us, and we're ready to go, though.
All right, thank you, Coach. First question's come from Stan Autry with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Please go ahead, Stan.
Hey, Shawn. How are you today?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I got a couple for you real quick. For the most part this year, you guys have played real well on defending the run. And App State, I guess, is the number one running team in the conference. What's that challenge going to be like, and how can you slow those guys down?
Oh, I don't know if you can slow those guys down, to tell you the truth. I mean, we've had, pretty successful stints against the run at times, and we played very, very well. But you're facing a whole different animal where not only do they just run the football, they line up and run it straight at you. It's not a lot of option. It's not a lot of, scheme. It's lined up and running their inside and their outside zone, their split flow zone. And then they're going to dabble in their play action passing game and their naked bootlegs. So, we have got our work cut out for us. They've got a really good offensive line. A lot of respect for how they run the football. Me being a line coach in the past, you just really appreciate teams that can hand that football off and go get the yardage where it's coming. But we've got a huge challenge against us. I think we've got to stay on our feet, and they do a really good job on what I call splitting the defense, where the backside cuts on their outside zone. We've got to stay with our footing, and we've got to be able to rally. But we've got to match their intensity. When you look at an App State football team and you see the effort and enthusiasm they play with, we have to match it, and to beat those guys, you have to excel over them. So we've got to do that. But it's going to be an interesting battle, and we're certainly looking forward to the opportunity and the challenge ahead of us.
Certainly a contrast in styles, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to ask you about is Quad was named the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Week. Has he developed faster than you anticipated? I mean, he just seems unflappable out there, and just seems to get plays done.
I wouldn't say that. I think if you know our offensive coordinator, Brad Glenn, if you look at the quarterbacks he's had the opportunity to work with, I think he's probably right in line with everyone else. I mean, Dan Ellington had such a great year with them matching up together for his senior year, and just with minimal time under his belt, did so well. And here's Quad doing the exact same thing. And if you look at his, like I said, his track record at Western Carolina, back at Appalachian State, seems like all his quarterbacks play ahead of schedule from what they normally would. And I think that's just, that's a compliment to him as a football coach and just an all-around person, because the communication and the trust has to be number one, and that's the first and foremost thing that he has solidified with Quad. And they trust each other, and they know when they go out, they have, the best interest at heart for each of them. He's not going to give Quad too much to do, and vice versa. So I think it's just a combination of those two guys and all the other quarterbacks that he's had.
All right. Well, great. You guys have a safe trip this week. Play well.
Yeah, we're certainly going to do our best. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan. Our next question's come from Brady Weiler with ThursdayNight.com. Please go ahead, Brady.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. So the one thing on offense you had talked about in your post-game remarks after ULM is you were hoping to maybe establish your inside run game a little earlier than you ended up doing. Do you think that's going to be something you're really going to have to get going early against App State to have some success on offense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to really have to control the line of scrimmage, and we rely off our inside zone play, and that's certainly not going to change. It's not going to change last week, 2 weeks ago, or it's not going to be 2 years from now. We're going to hang our hat on that and base everything off of it. But we've got to be successful in moving those guys up front. They've got such great athleticism up front in their defensive front line, their linebackers. They penetrate and they move so well, and we're going to have our hands full with those guys. But I think we're up to the task. We've got a solid group up front as well, real kind of similar to the App State offensive line. We've seen a lot of looks, and I think these guys are really looking forward to the challenge to going up there against a great defense.
I guess just sum up maybe just one or two parts of the formula to getting a win this Saturday?
Well, I mean, certainly we're going to have to stop their run game. I mean, that's point blank. I mean, we have got to control their backs and control their run game. I mean, that's what they like to do. I mean, they're run. They're going to play action pass you and take their deep shots, and then they're going to have their naked boots off of it. So we've got to make sure we're stopping that run on a very, very consistent basis. And, it's going to take all 11. It just doesn't, start with the defensive line and go to the linebackers. It takes all 11 to stop them. They're powerful, and we certainly understand what we've got to do.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brady. And thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for today. We do appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. And this will conclude this week's teleconference. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us. A copy of this will be posted on Sunbelt Conference's website later today. If we can provide any assistance, please feel free to reach out. We hope everyone has a great week and safe travels for those of you on the road. Thank you. 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 Those of you on the road. Thank you.